Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. Let's get started. President Donald Trump is the projected winner of the New Hampshire Republican primary. This after a 30-point victory in last week's Iowa caucuses. Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley finishing second tonight. Trump used his victory speech to take a swipe at Haley, saying she, quote, failed badly. He also took swings at President Biden, but Haley addressed her supporters, saying the race is not over.
And today we got close to half of the vote. We still have a ways to go, but we keep moving up.
We have beaten Biden. You could almost say, who can't? Who the hell can't? The man can't put two sentences together. He can't find the stairs off a stage. Who can't?
President Biden did not put his name on the ballot for the New Hampshire Democratic primary, but CBS News projects he won anyways, thanks to an aggressive write-in campaign. The first official primary for the Democratic Party is on February 3rd in South Carolina. New tonight, the city of Spokane Valley is looking to improve its brand, and that could mean changing the city's logo. KREM 2's Kyle Simchuk shows us what that could look like and what it would take to implement. Kyle?
Yeah, Mark, kind of interesting. The city has done surveys over the years and heard from residents who think that this current logo is dated and unprofessional. So this is it right here. Now take a look at, oh, well, I guess we don't have the new logo up here. Oh, here we go. This is what they're considering and the communications team has come up with tonight. Council members seem to be pretty divided on this possible change.
The city of Spokane Valley celebrated its 20th birthday last year. A lot has changed over the past 2 decades, but the city's logo has not.
Our current logo is not as strong as it could be. Our colors are a little dated, our font as well.
Communications manager Jill Smith says the city has conducted 3 studies over the last 7 years, surveying hundreds of residents. She says the vast majority think the current logo should be improved.
Findings from the studies all recommended that the city really was due for an update to our brand.
The current logo is used on business cards, letterheads, city vehicles, and park signs.
How much will it cost the taxpayers in man-hours and money in changing over from what we have now? I am thinking that is a chunk of change, especially when our priority is providing more police officers.
No one is suggesting that we replace everything or spend money on replacing anything that currently uses the original logo. This would simply move forward. So if we're buying a new vehicle, if we need to replace letterhead, business cards, for example, you will begin to move forward with the new logo look and feel.
Tonight, Smith presented council members with the new logo and asked for consensus to move forward.
But I'm not excited about changing the logo.
The council was tied, 3-4 and 3 against changing the logo. Then Councilman Al Merkel changed his mind and gave it the green light to move forward. Merkel also asked if any of the surveys indicated support for changing the city's name. He doesn't support that idea, however.
A lot of citizens who want to think about changing the name, that if was there anything in those surveys that said that that would be an interesting thing to do, to move away from the Spokane Valley part to, what did they say, Spoval or the Valley or whatever we're using in marketing?
That has come up a number of times, and we did look at it seriously and had consultants weigh in on it, and every time the message that came back was leave the name alone.
Well, the city's logo won't officially change until council members pass a resolution. However, that could happen soon. Mark.
All right, Kyle, keep us posted. Thank you very much. Meantime, happening tomorrow, Eastern Washington Congresswoman Cathy McMorris-Rodgers is expected to lead a roundtable with local, state, and federal officials about the ongoing cleanup efforts in Medical Lake and Elk. It has been more than 5 months since the Gray and Oregon road fires burned more than 20,000 acres of land and destroyed nearly 400 homes. Tonight, many are still struggling to rebuild. McMorris-Rodgers sent a letter to President Biden this week asking for an update on Governor Jay Inslee's request for a major disaster declaration. All right, switching gears to talk weather. It's practically summer in Spokane with the temperatures we are expecting this week. Okay, not quite that far, but it kind of feels like it. Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Good joining us now. with the weather set in the weather center with more on this week's warm up. Jeremy?
Yeah, I've already dramatically thrown in the towel on winter with how warm we were the past couple of days and how warm we're going to be by this time next week. We still sit at 37 degrees here in town, but look at the dew point, 36. Look at the wind, light. You add all that together and you get a lot of fog. Just about everywhere we have it, and it likely gets a bit thicker in places overnight. Moses Lake looking a little bit better than you did earlier this evening, but out in the airport, it's a similar story. Visibility from a quarter of a mile to a mile. Deer Park, it is still down at a quarter of a mile. A little bit of that actually popping up on the radar, but it is all fog. We'll eventually see our next wave of energy move in. It hits the Cascades tomorrow morning, puts down a light coating of snow. For us, it's all rain, especially with how warm we are. Snow levels drop to about 3,000 feet, but we don't see any here in town. And then it's just the rainy pattern continuing. Over the next few days, our high temperatures stay pretty mild. 40 tomorrow, 39 Thursday, 42 on Friday. And by this time next week, we're talking temperatures in the upper 40s.
All right. My goodness. Jeremy, thank you very much. We are learning new details about the deadly avalanche that killed one skier and injured another near Stevens Peak in Shoshone County earlier this month. A new report just released by the Idaho Panhandle Avalanche Center lays out what happened and the challenges the skiers and rescuers faced. The report credits the 3 backcountry skiers for being prepared. It also notes, though, the avalanche danger at the time was undeniable. Coming up in less than 10 minutes, we take you minute by minute through that terrifying ordeal. And now to our night beat with a quick look at the day's top stories. We have an update tonight on the Spokane Valley fire truck that was hit by an out-of-control driver over the weekend. Thankfully, no firefighters were hurt, and the woman who lost control and hit the truck suffered only minor injuries. But the fire department tells us it could be a few months before they get that truck back into service. They have brought in a reserve truck for now. This all happened Saturday afternoon at 2:30. Crews were checking out a 2-car slide-off at the time. As they are about to clear the scene, another car lost control and slammed into the back of the ladder truck.
So we were literally 20 feet from the apparatus, kind of walking back up, and we saw this car lose control. My engineer yelled, "She's going to hit the truck." We both stood there and watched, and she came in at a high rate of speed, just sideways. There's nothing she could do. Struck the back of the truck. And it was a huge explosion that actually the patient in the ditch she was emotional from the first accident. She became very emotional now after just hearing that. And so my engineer yelled that this is a red patient and we're going to need extrication.
Captain Dave Griffiths tells us that they were able to extricate the woman in less than 2 minutes. She was taken to the hospital with only minor injuries. Police arrested a Seattle man in Pierce County for a murder that happened in Spokane Valley. Spokane Valley deputies say Darrell Harris shot and killed 40-year-old Deshaun Crawford in February of last year. Newly released documents show Harris and Crawford got into an argument just hours before the shooting. Harris is now being held on $1 million bond. It is unclear when he'll be brought back to Spokane County to face charges. In Northwest news, prison sentences could get shortened for more than 1,000 Washington inmates under a proposal at the state capitol. Right now, there are almost 1,400 inmates serving longer sentences because their juvenile crimes were taken into consideration when they were sentenced for their adult crimes, which was made illegal last year. A new law would make those people eligible for resentencing and possibly shorter sentences as well. And that was your Night Beat. To learn more about any of these stories, just head to our website. That's KREM.com.
$11,000. She was 26 anyway. She had limited value.
Well, you might recall this moment caught on a Seattle police officer's body camera last year. Those were the remarks of Officer Daniel Otterer after another officer hit and killed a 23-year-old woman. Well, tonight, the Office of Police Accountability ruled the officer violated the department's professionalism and bias-based policing policies. He has since been reassigned to a non-operational position. In national news this evening, the manhunt is over for a suspect wanted in the killings of 8 people in Illinois. The crime scenes were scattered across 3 homes in the Chicago area over the weekend. Police say they found 5 of the bodies inside a home in a Chicago suburb. They were shaken by the violence at the scene.
I've been a policeman 29 years. This is probably the worst crime scene I've ever been associated with.
According to investigators, the same car owned by the suspect was at all 3 crime scenes. Police were able to track the man down in Texas. After a standoff with law enforcement, police say he took his own life. The Los Angeles Times announcing major layoffs tonight. This just 4 days after journalists held the first strike in the paper's nearly 150-year history. 115 people will be laid off. That's more than 20% of the newsroom staff. The owner said the paper can no longer endure annual losses of more than $30 million and that drastic changes are needed. And that was your KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where you get more news in less time.